And I have done the welcome. This is the San Carlos Computer Club. I'm Scott Stimson in my computer shirt, feeling digital this morning. The our club is scclub.org. If you're interested in any of this stuff, anyone's welcome to join us. If you stumbled across this video or this moment, you can go check out scclub.org, where you'll find a link to our virtual meeting. You're welcome to join. Got somebody joining us right now, actually. Fred, well, how can I help you?
Well, I was going to say,
oh, here's Richard.
You've changed the perspective on the screen on my iPad from last week. You're cut in half again.
I've done nothing to your screen.
Well,
you know, I understand what Mr. Godfrey is saying. You are invisible, Scott, or there's actually about a quarter of your shoulder visible.
I see your right shoulder, and I see the
there you are.
S3C logo below it. There you know where you have.
Oh wow, look at that. Look at how goofy. Well, you probably can't see how goofy.
When you came up where the SC3 logo was, you were all there.
There's some kind of zooming that's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you've just gotten Richard off the side of the screen. I think that's Richard.
Yeah, thank you for insight. Oh, last week there was a blurring that was actually a Macintosh camera thing. I'm looking for that Macintosh camera thing right now, wondering if it's not related. Oh, did I find it? All of that looks right, but it's definitely not coming into. Oh. Does that make any difference?
Well, I got about 3/4 of you now.
Damn you, meat. What are you doing to me?
Now I've got your right shoulder, or your right arm, that's all. Not even your shoulder.
Yeah, what am I going to... Oh, let me try this. I'm going to stop this. Start it again. Maybe what I'll do is I'll exit the meet and come back in. Something. Please show my full... It's cropping. Show full video. That make any difference?
No.
Oh, okay. I'll be right back. You can come back. Oh my God.
In Hades, but
oh my God. I know what it is. I don't know how to turn it off yet, but Google has implemented some follow focus feature. I watched it start up as soon as I came in. It looked at me and then it went right to my face. It zoomed right in on my face and forgot about it.
Just your face.
Yeah, I've switched it to just my face. I'm trying to find the feature. There is a feature in here. Put this back. There's a feature in here somewhere. It's telling it to zoom in. Telling the camera to zoom. Go ahead and talk amongst yourselves. Welcome to the Computer Club meeting. This is something that is either new in Apple. I just installed the latest update for the operating system. Automatic, or it's
Well, there's your problem.
yeah, right. It's either Apple or it's Google Meet. But what it's done is it's zoomed in on the action.
There,
And
I've got your
cropped
full
it.
face. Now it went away.
Well, there's some kind of automatic cropping thing going on.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Ms. Hall.
And
Now
Billy,
that looks about right, Scott.
Yeah. Now, how do I stop it from continuing to do? Because right now
Well,
it just happens to be there. It just happens to be working. Let me shrink my video for. I'm gonna go forward hoping this is working. Does that look right?
no, I've still got half of you. You're divided down your nose.
What about our document there? Can that be read?
And actually, when Fred said I had you correctly, and I'm seeing your document correctly. But
Okay.
this is on a desktop, right?
Yeah. Fred's on an iPad. You might change your orientation, Fred. You also might want to just make sure that you've pinned me as the presenter.
I'm still getting your right eye. And
I'm
that's
gonna
about
pin
it.
for everyone right now.
Now I see you, all of you.
Woo! That does not work for my layout, does it? Like, woo!
No.
We're time traveling.
Okay, I see all of you now.
So this is wrong. Sorry, Fred. This is not working the way it's supposed to in that respect. I was just using this pin function. I'm going to unpin for everyone.
Now you're half of you.
But now
you
you
just
should be a meet. You see everybody if you've got me pinned.
Nope. Don't see you.
And now this is with me. Yeah, I should have said you see the meet without me, and then with me, and then you see just me, and then you see the document.
Well, you cropped the right side of your document, so I don't get the full thing.
I wish I could see what you're seeing on the iPad. I should borrow my daughter's iPad. Cheryl, are you on an iPad or a desktop or a laptop computer? Or never mind.
She disappeared.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm gonna thank you for being here. Good morning, Dad. Good morning, Cheryl.
Good morning.
We really haven't started with any particular topic at the moment except Scott's system not working.
okay, so what I did was I'm on an iPad and I went to take a screenshot of the picture so that you can see what we see. And I'm about to paste it into the info thing. Bill said when the microphone was off, Bill's here too.
Hi, Bill.
He's way over there in his kitchen working on his bread.
All right. Say hello to the sourdough.
Jorge.
So you're gonna paste it into our chat so we can see what it looks like? I don't even know if that works.
That's what I'm going to try and do.
I don't know. Can you put a picture in the chat?
Well, all I've done is, no, it didn't come up with paste. So
Oh, you may have to send it to me on Messenger. I don't know if
I'll work on it. But if I disappear again, it's because I'm taking a screenshot.
Yes, because that's much more important than our meeting. I'm very, I'm really worried about how I look out there on an iPad. Actually, what would also be interesting is if you guys looked at the YouTube video and compare and contrasted your experience on the iPad versus what's being sent out to YouTube. Because that video out to YouTube is what's supposed to be going out as my image on this meet. Okay? And it's why I say pin me Otherwise, what I'm presenting gets mixed in with all your other video feeds. But it's Google Meet does something odd on the iPad when it's moving our faces around. It crops strangely. Like what it was just doing for me was it was taking what we're looking at right now and trying to get Jim out from behind my image. What we're looking at right now, and it was zooming in on my picture over here on the corner and cutting all of you off, and Meet was just doing that automatically. And I still don't know if that was... I don't have an Apple camera. I have a Logitech camera, but Apple has that in their iPad where where it follows you around. The camera follows you around. And that's essentially what this was just doing. Say again, Richard?
Facial tracking.
Well, not the recognition, but the placement. It'll frame the action and then follow the action around.
Tracking.
The word. Tracking. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It looks like what it's doing is sending out a 640 by 480, and then putting it into a 480 by 480 image, because it's cropping both the left side and the right side of the image, your image.
Check your email, Scott.
Okay.
I sent it to Scott at International Computer Systems, and I kind of agree with what Fred was saying. I have 6 squares showing up, and inside the square is your rectangular screen. So what we see is the square of your whatever rectangular screen.
You're cropping either side of it.
Yeah, we're only seeing.
And does it change if you change your orientation?
No.
So it's still got the same cropping if you do it portrait versus landscape.
It's still 6 squares in the screen and squares within. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this photo.
Like you as the presenter and everything have all of us on there. You've got they're kind of rectangular on yours, but you're square. So it doesn't.
When it comes to this, what we're doing is we're trying to distinguish between what Google Meet is doing and what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so the Google Meet has all of us in the 16 by 9 or the 6 by what was it? The 16 by 9. 4 by 3 or 3 by 4. Whatever that rectangles has us all in rectangles, and then the way I am bringing video in is a square for me.
Yeah.
Kind of like that square right there.
Yours is a rectangular, but you've got your International Computer Systems on this side and your square on the other side.
That's right. So and that should be filling the whole frame that you would see. Here,
all we see is the square in the middle. We see half of your business card and half of you.
So that is something that Google Meet is doing on the iPad.
Now, here's an interesting thing. I see myself in a rectangle, but I see Jim Cunningham full square filling the square. And the other guys just have logos. They don't have cameras.
Well, and you have it pinned, right? I
have nothing pinned.
Okay, so you should pin me.
I don't like to pin you because then it shows up and I see all of us.
When you don't pin me, then you don't see the correct presentation and it gets squashed and elongated by Google Meet.
Hi, Sandy.
So now we have another situation because we have 7 of the 8 squares filled in and 1 blank.
Okay, also, if you look at mine, it looks like I'm displaying a 640 by 480 image, and it crops it at the top and bottom.
Okay, so
and you get the full.
two things. One, if you pin me, just let's look at what you're seeing. And the other is, Cheryl, I've never received the picture.
What?
Yeah, it has not showed up.
Let me check my email.
And we haven't gotten to a topic yet. Did anybody bring topics besides how poorly I'm presenting? There's Jim. Jim, what's your topic? Jim, did you have a topic?
Okay, yeah. I installed Stremio on my old MacBook Air, and I set up an account in shoot, I've forgotten what it is now, Deborah, to do the buffering or to eliminate the constant buffering, but I can't seem to link the two.
I'm sorry, say that again, Jim. You can't do what?
Link the two. In other words, the account I have set up with that buffering service does not recognize, or I've not been able to get it to recognize my Stremio account, or vice versa, whichever is causing the problem.
You're saying buffering service? I'm not sure what that refers. You're saying buffering service?
I forgot what it is. That Deborah, something Deborah.
Oh, debris? Debris. I don't think you actually need to use that. That's what that is a system where you get connected to a network of people that are sharing these things, and you pay a monthly price for it. But I don't think you need to actually take advantage of that. What you want to take advantage of is a plugin called Torrentino.
Called what?
Torrentino. Let me find the link for it, because it seems to have become more obscure recently.
Torrentino, okay.
Yeah, let me see if I can find. I'm going to do some Google searches. Torrentio is the name. Oh, good. It should be this same link. That has not changed. Guess that was just a... I am going to put this... I'll put this in our document, but I'll also put it in our link right now. You have Stremio and your Stremio account installed in the computer you're in right now?
No, it's my laptop.
Okay, well, what you'll need to do is go to this website in call messages. Go to this website on the computer that has Stremio. Torrentio.strem.fun. Yeah, and what this is, and you'll need to be signed into your Stremio account on the web browser. And what it will do, it'll move. There's an install. Well, here, let me bring it up. See my screen? It brings this up, and you're able to configure all this. I typically exclude things like unknown cam, 3D, Dolby Vision, Dolby VR, 4K, because I'm really happy with anything that comes to me that's in 1080, 720, or 480. And so I don't want these showing up in my results. I'm sorry, let me stop. So what we're looking at is a website that you go to. You have Stremio installed in the computer that you're using to go to that web. You're configuring the way this plugin is going to look for information, and then you're installing the plugin in Stremio. It sounds more complicated. I've made it sound more complicated than it really is. don't have to configure anything. All you have to do is press the install button at the bottom. That will prompt you with some security prompts saying, can I open Streamio, things of that nature. And then it will load its plugin into your Streamio. Now, the truth is...
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Jim.
I'm saying, so if I am in the add-on section of Strumio, and up in the top right hand, there's a search bar. If I type in that URL and open it up.
No, you want to do it from your web browser.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you would go to Firefox or Chrome or Safari, and you would follow that web. The web browser that goes to this site needs to be on the same device that Streamio is installed on. You only have to do this on one device, and the plugin gets installed in your Streamio account. It's called a JSON, and just take this packet of information and move it over to your Streamio account, and then wherever you sign into Streamio, it's really funny because I'm realizing that I'm using all these gestures that nobody can see. but it packages up your configurations and the plugin and moves it into your Streamio account so that wherever you install Streamio, when you sign in, this will follow it. It'll come to that device.
And what was that URL again?
Yeah, I'll stick it in our document, but I just stuck it in our in-call chat too.
All right. By the way, I couldn't find today's document list. The most recent I was is last week.
Oh, did it not?
Was not on the notice that I got.
That's okay. Maybe it didn't get sent out. I'll take a look at that. But let me put this link in it, and I'll give you the document link.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jim Streamio on his old Mac. So indeed. So I have just added that to our document up here in our topics troubleshooting, and look at that, I'm still missing that header for it. Fine. That's what an AI is good. Then our document. He's looking for the document. I'm putting it in our in-call meeting. So Jim, if you look at under the ellipse, the 3 dots, and look at in-call messages, find those.
I see it.
Then Torrentio is that link right there, torrentio.strim.pum.
Doesn't the in-call messages go away?
They do. That's why I've added it to our document as well. They do. They disappear with each. It's too bad. Maybe seems like if you pay for services like a Zoom service, and I would assume that Google Meet does pay for it, archives of that. And so, yes, so you've got Streamio, you've got a Streamio account. You might have Streamio on a Fire Stick or a Google TV or some other device. You need to get this plugin installed. This plugin is not authorized, and so it doesn't show up in the authorized list of plugins. But the nature of Streamio is one where your plugins are stored with your account, not with your application. And so if you can get this installed in your account, then just by signing into your Streamio, this gets installed in that Streamio installation. So an example of that is you've got a brand new Fire Stick and you install Streamio and you sign into your account. You don't have to do anything new. This plugin just downloads itself right alongside all your settings with Streamio. Say your watch list and history and all that, the way you've got it set up, all just downloads into. Yes, Fred. And then Jim. Go ahead, Fred.
Your screen is perfect. I can see all of us plus you.
I did
Everybody shows
nothing.
My screen.
Yeah, I did nothing. Did you pin me?
I did.
There you go.
But everything is perfect.
Yeah, everything is perfect. Okay. And Jim, did you have a follow-up to that?
Yeah, actually, I need to buy a new streaming stick of some kind. Are we still of the opinion that Roku is probably the best overall, or?
Well, no, that's not the case. In fact, with what you're doing right now, you shouldn't consider a Roku. If you wanted to use Streamio into the future, it's not going to go on a Roku.
Okay.
But
What should I use?
well, right now, it's the newest Fire Sticks do not support it.
I'm sorry, the newest Fire Stick what?
Does not support Streamio. The older generations, the generations up to the 6th generation, support Streamio. So if you have an old Fire Stick, it works.
That's Amazon, right?
That's Amazon. So what I've recently, in the last year, started recommending people get are the ON devices, the 4K Plus from Walmart. They're Google TV devices. Now, the frustration with that device is that they aren't sanctioned outside the United States and Canada. So you'll want to make sure you've signed up for it while you're in the United States. If you don't, then it's just a frustration of running it across the VPN so that you can get it set up. I've had to do it in Mexico. It's not that big of a deal, but it just creates an extra headache for yourself. So if you buy one of these devices, get it set it up for yourself while you're in the States before you bring it down.
It's just called a Google TV device?
Well, yeah, it is the we've talked about it extensively over the last few months, but its name brand is the Walmart house brand ONN on streaming device. Here, I'm doing a Google search to bring it up on my. So.
I seem to remember something recently that they've said they've updated that. You can't sideload stuff.
I haven't seen that for the ON. They have recently updated the hardware. So the hardware is in this kind of nebulous area where the old product is still out there on shelves. New product is starting to be put out on shelves, but it's not available online. This is a real example of the kind of device we're talking about and the name brand from Walmart. Now, the one that I really liked, I think this is the one 4K. Because of RAM and CPU development right now, it's really confusing which one of these is the higher performing device. The one that I found was the high performer was a $30 device from Walmart called the ON 4K Plus. But I know that is difficult to find now. Finding it on shelves or online is difficult because they're in this transition of equipment. They're also changing their pricing structure. So it seems like what they've got out new, in fact, what the Google search brought up, what we were just looking at, I think is the device that I was recommending. And you can see it's out of stock. It's not available to be bought in store or to have it online shipped to a store. The 4K Pro was an inferior device as far as performance, but had a number of ports on it. So you could hook it to your network. You could hook a USB device to it. I didn't see any of that as necessary. Here, this is the device this is the one right here. If you can find this somewhere, isn't that cute? Right at the top of the Walmart screen, it says Roku, but that's not what the device is. It's trying to sell this Roku TV. But what we're looking at is this Omni device, device, 4K plus. That's, if you can find that 4K plus, that's the one that I stand behind right now as being the fastest chip. And I've got one of these in my life that I'm very happy with, very performative. Fred, what you mentioned earlier is something we always have to be concerned about, is that they will stop, they will upgrade their equipment like Amazon did and stop the side loading. However, Amazon's the only one that I'm aware of so far that has done that. And what they've also done is Amazon has come out with a public statement that they will continue to support their older devices, the ones that allow you to sideload, up until 2030. So if you do get a hold of an old Fire Stick 4K, that will be supported with security and software and operating system updates up until 2030. So there's no, I don't see a problem in buying a used one or holding on to a used one for this purpose. It was a concern earlier that they would just start discontinuing software updates for their older product and force us into the newer product. But that is not the case. The only thing that's forcing us into the newer product is you need it, and that's what they're selling.
Can I go back to Fire TV, aka Fire Stick?
Yes.
Say that you can't put Stremio on them anymore. I don't, like, we have an old Fire Stick and we have an older version Fire TV, and have
Won't be a
Stremio.
problem. It's not a problem. You are able to continue to use Stremio on those sticks so long as they continue to run a version of the Android that supports the version of Stremio that runs.
Okay. If I just have an iPad, I have no access to Stremio.
No. The way the Stremio app works in an iPad or an iPhone, in that locked down environment, is that it makes suggestions. You can see your queue of things you're watching, your list of things, your library. You can click on them, but then when you click on them, all it will suggest to you is legitimate services where to find them. And you have to have...
But is there any device out there that broadcasts, airplays, somehow I can view from a streaming device to an iPad? I don't think so.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the reverse of casting. You know, I've never tried it, but you can cast from Stremio in the application itself. And so you're able to discover wireless displays out there. Never tried this, but it should work. I believe that you should be able to, even it would depend on your Fire Stick doesn't do it by default, but one of your computers could do it. Fred, did you have a suggestion?
I have a question. Will it work on an Amazon Fire?
Yeah. Yeah, well, as long as it's the older devices. Oh, a Fire tablet, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, as long as it's not with the new Vega operating system. As long as it supports it. Well, and you know what I can tell you is I have an old Fire HD that's running like Android 6. For perspective, we're up to 14. So it's running Android 6 and it's still allowing me to use Streamio without any problem. I mean, other than it's a low capacity, out of date device. I have those problems. But the ability to run the software, like the compatibility is still there. It's user experience because it's a lower quality device.
Will it direct load, or do you have to side load that also?
Well, you know, because and again, I covet this with as long as it's running Android and not Vega. I'm not familiar with them putting Vega on their tablets yet. They've talked about Vega only for the Fire TV. I haven't heard of them using Vega for the Fire tablets. So what that is it's an Android fork for Amazon, and that allows side loading very easily. Just turn off security, and you can load applications wherever you want. I actually use an app store called APK Pure, which you may have run across if you've done some of this stuff yourself. The problem with having the ability to install software from a third party is that you open yourself up to a security risk vector. I won't recommend alternate app stores. APK Pure is kind of an exception because it's been around for a long time. It is inundated with advertising, but I feel comfortable that the app that I'm downloading from it hasn't been compromised. You can't say that for a lot of app stores that are out there. And it's one of the real advantages of not sideloading, staying within a walled garden of applications, that those things are supposedly vetted from Amazon, or in Apple's case, from Apple. And so your security risk is much smaller. You can also go directly to Streamio, which is probably even a better recommendation than using a third-party app store, because then you don't get into the questionable nature of anything you might download from an app store. At the very least, if something was compromised when you got it from Streamio.com, you can isolate it to Streamio.com as being hacked. Their app is being taken advantage of, not necessarily a whole environment of programs that could possibly be a potential threat. So I think I would actually recommend, before going to a third-party app store on an Android device, like an Apple Fire or a Amazon Fire, would be to just go straight to Streamio.com and download their most basic Android mobile version of Streamio. With that in mind, that Amazon Fire tablet, you can also run Kodi on it. So if you're interested in using the Kodi media player, it all works fine on it. It's really this Vega operating system that's preventing sideloading. And I really think it's an Amazon current. I think it's more positioning and posturing. It'll be interesting to see as governments change regulations and tech companies doing deals with other nations, how that will affect Amazon's positioning in this respect, because they really went from a "we don't see anything, we don't care" posturing to "we're going to help this get stopped on our platform." Microsoft is taking that position at different times. It comes in waves. And Apple, well, what made the iPhone work so well for music back in the day is because they took a stringent position on it and became the guards at the gate. They came up with a system for the music publishers to be able to figure out how to track who's got what and how for them to get a check from the music. They put together the whole system, and that's what made digital music so possible in age, was Apple taking that stance. Now they've backed far away from it. You can most of the music you can get is you can get without digital rights on it, so you can whatever device. So I guess my only point is this stuff comes in waves, and it's not dictated by any ethos than what the market will be. Right now, Walmart is the company that has taken the we don't see anything, we don't care how you use our platform. They're just looking for market share. So the concern is valid. As more people start using Walmart's device, and it is Walmart's device, Walmart's house brand, whoever manufactures it for Walmart, us as consumers have to think of it as a Walmart device. Their stance will change as they get more and more users and they feel more political pressure for what's able to be done on their device. It's just that's where Amazon is right now. Amazon is everywhere, so they're the one feeling the political pressure. All this, of course, is my opinion and speculation. So anything you guys know or would be a little different, feel free to correct me. But this is how I see everything going down right now. And all of this is just stemmed off of Jim's topic. I hope Jim gets Streamio working. Where did my document go? I'm so far away from what we were talking about. Oh, okay. If people, Cheryl, you got something?
Yeah, I wanted to talk a bit about the Sphere and the technology and the show that we saw.
Oh, yeah, please do.
Unbelievable experience. We entered the complex on kind of like.
Let me interrupt. If this was in 1970 and I was stoned out of my mind, that would be about similar.
And there's Bill's take on it. Well, anyways, not having been stoned out of my mind in those conditions. So we entered on ground floor. We took an elevator up to kind of like a lobby area. And then we had to take elevator to get up to where our seats were. So from the outside, we've been watching this thing for the 24 hours that we've been in Vegas because we stay right beside it. The girls are amazed by the pictures and the movement. And sometimes it's just psychedelic stuff moving around. And sometimes it's flowers. And it's an amazing creation, you know. So then we're in there and we're sitting in these very steep rows, and way down in the bottom, in the very center of this great big huge complex, there's a movie screen. Think like an IMAX movie screen, and I'm imagining that that's where the Wizard of Oz is going to be shown. And I know things are going to happen around me, and I can see holes in the ceiling and stuff, but I was not prepared for when the movie started and it's on that screen, and then all of a sudden it went and the screen is here. It's all around you. Yeah. Now my camera is doing that thing where it zooms in on me. But anyways, it was up above me, it was beside me, and the whole movie was here around you. And so we're in Kansas, and it's black and white, and you know the show is going along, and it was just you look around, you can hear the music coming from all over the place.
Then the tornado hit.
Well, and when the tornado hit, my hair is flying this way, and my shawl that I have on, because it's kind of chilly inside the air conditioning already. I'm freezing, because we're being thrown around and the chair is shaking and the apples are flying out of the sky, the leaves are fluttering down, and a cow goes flying by and you swear it's going to hit you, like you're ducking, and it's just amazing, you know. And the girls are on the edge of their seat, and when Ember started the movie with her hand holding my hand, the 16-year-old, like this kind of thing. And yeah, no, it was 75 minutes of whoa, you know. Like
well, even when they were in the Munchkins village, they had little animated butterflies flying around the theater.
yes.
I don't know how they were very small, but they had to be controlled. Somebody was flying them around, and they were fluttering around, you know, over the audience.
And
it's awesome.
And monkeys.
Flying monkeys, yeah.
Yeah, like the size of humans, that came down out of the sky, and they were flowing around. And yeah, no, it was everything it's ever been hyped up for. You know, best.
And it was the original movie. Now, like,
but the original movie is 90 to 119 minutes long, and this has been cut down. So you get the story, but some of the parts are missing.
Okay.
But all of the story is there. One of the things that I noticed, and Sarah mentioned it too, at some points the technology, the filming of it, some of the characters were not three-dimensional, or their face transformed when they weren't in the center of the action, kind of thing. It was like they were pictures instead of 3D. So some of it was catching up, or like when Dorothy's standing beside the Tin Man, and sometimes the outer people would be out of focus, kind of.
Okay, so and it wasn't a stylistic choice. It was definitely the technology was not quite perfect.
I felt that the technology couldn't quite handle all of the scene and make it.
They were reducing computational requirements if it wasn't the center of the action.
Yeah, they would have to, because you know there was so much going on. And I just caught it every so often out of my eye. I thought.
I'm curious. Did you have characters enter the scene from behind you, or like from? So the characters, the original characters, are all coming at you in front of you.
No,
like a regular movie.
No, well, how do you say that? Did you feel like it was like a regular movie, or that we were really kind of part of it?
Well, you feel a part of it. The film or the video part of it is still 2D, but it's wrapped around you, and you get caught up in being right in the action, because you know it was about 300 degrees of video, and like Cheryl says, it gets distorted out on the very edges, but you're not even usually looking at that. You're looking straight in. It's very, very vivid.
They
adapted the movie into this form, but it was the original movie that they were using.
I was curious how they would like, it sounds like all this extra space is used for things that didn't actually exist in the film, and they've augmented the film with these. Like there are flying monkeys in the movie, but the movie monkeys aren't the ones that are coming at you from behind. These are added monkeys.
That's right. Yeah. There is things added in the theater, like that come down on strings.
The flying flying monkeys that were in the theater, I assume were, floating.
Oh wait, are these like physical puppets that you're talking about? Oh wow. I was thinking they were added to the scene.
No. It's in the theater. Like the apples were real. They came down and they
were foam.
They were foam instead of
they're real fake. Real fake apples.
And the leaves landed on you, and at one point we got a little wet. I can't remember what that was.
Oh wow, so it's one of those kinds of experiences as well.
Yeah.
Mom's got a great story of seeing the Odyssey in 4DX.
Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, kind of 4D. What I did find that
physical. there was physical elements to it.
Yeah.
I get it now. Yeah, I wasn't getting that before.
Well,
There-
and
yeah.
the other thing that got me was at points when, okay, so like it's the movie theater, it's zoomed in or zoomed out. For instance, we're going to go down the yellow brick road. And when they changed the location of the horizon, I got a lot of vertigo. I was like, oh, now where are we going? And you feel like the seats are moving sometimes, and
Vibrate.
sometimes flat, and sometimes shaking, and it does. There was a little bit of vertigo going on there when we changed movements. When
So the seats are also animated.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's very
Well, we've
similar to
experienced
this
that before in
4DX
the Cirque du Soleil
experience.
shows. You know, the theater, when we went into the theater at the MGM 2 days later, I guess it was the next day, I can't
Next
remember.
day.
It was pretty jam-packed days there. We went in to see Ka, and you're sitting there before the show starts, and you're like underground mine, kind of. The whole theater is the set. And the speakers are right here beside your ears,
They're in the
in your
seats.
seat, and you're hearing clanking, and you're hearing this kind of eerie music, and it's all over. And when the Cirque du Soleil start, to there's people coming at you all over the place. You know, so the theaters in Vegas have already had this
These kinds
dimension
of
to
things,
them.
yeah, these physical aspects to a show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but the Sphere is an absolutely amazing thing. I've seen a couple of videos of like the Backstreet Boys concert and different things like that. And
Metallica was doing a residency there. They either has or is going to be.
Um,
and the Eagles were in there.
the Eagles, who opened it was, oh shit. Yeah.
Bill
Oh.
thinks he knows who opened for the
Yeah, when
Eagles.
they, the first shows in there,
Bono.
Bon Jovi.
Bon Jovi was there.
Oh,
He opened the Sphere. Bon Jovi's was the show that was the first concert to be performed. They have a like an IMAX kind of National Geographic video or experience that they show. They don't call them movies; they call them experiences.
sure. Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
so
what they are.
the I think it's what's the guy's name? Ottenbeck. Help me out, guys. The naturalist, the biologist that does all of the movies.
Oh, David Attenborough.
Who?
Attenborough. David
Thank you.
Attenborough.
Yeah. Yeah, Attenborough. Anyways, he has one that they show in the afternoon. I think tickets to that are about $75, and it's an hour long.
Oh my
and
gosh.
you have snakes that you think are coming, you know, like the jungle,
But
and
they're not. It's not a 3D experience.
No.
It's not a 3D theater.
it's
Oh, that was another thing I meant to ask you. Is if you had to wear glasses or anything like that?
No. The video itself is still 2D. It's just they've added all these physical elements that sort of interact with the audience. Like I say, the flying monkeys were hydrogen balloons. I'm sure they floated, but they had some kind of propulsion system that they could control.
That's
They just floated by you.
That's such an interesting aspect I had not even known was going on. I mean, just the idea that you have this wraparound screen, this huge venue where all these special effects can be happening in whatever the presentation is. But then to add the physical aspects of it, like you said, the Circus Olay of it, I hadn't even known that was going on. That's very cool.
yeah, it was quite interesting. Like you asked about characters coming from behind. Behind me was an Asian family, and I don't think Grandma understood the English. Anyways, she was translating. The daughter was translating through the whole thing, so I could hear this Asian language behind me talking about what was going on, and so it was, you know, any dialogue was being translated in my ear, but I tried to zone that out so that I could pay attention forward. But yeah.
Well, very cool. That's something that I've wanted. Oh, hey, look at that. We are having so much fun in that meeting that we weren't paying attention to it in start the and hope everybody makes one. Hey, that happened. Surprise! that that happened a bit abruptly.
Yeah, that was the first that I know of.
Carol had no idea how captivated we were with her.
Yeah, I want to go to that show.
Welcome back,
Hi,
people.
Cheryl. Continue on.
Yeah.
Well, that was freaky because my friend sent me a message at the same moment, and then all of a sudden the screen went black and it said the call, and Bill says, "Well, I think you're connected on the other device." You know, we didn't know what was going on. So,
Well,
yeah,
it just shows to me how captivated we were by your story.
Yeah.
well, I was pretty captivated too. You know, we had talked about going into the sphere for something, and we figured Wizard of Oz was something we would do, and we got the opportunity, and it was a lot of fun.
Here's the sequence. We talked about we should go see the sphere before the Wizard of Oz is just about done. They're closing it out. So we decided, oh, well, we should go. We should do this. And then, well, the girls' birthdays are like our granddaughter's birthday. So we said, well, why don't we take them? So we did. Now, the main event in this whole trip was shopping.
For the girls.
Until you drop. You know, you got two teenage girls turned loose in the Las Vegas Boulevard. You imagine what's going on.
Yeah. So the main event for me was the sphere, and the draining one was.
Well, surely they enjoyed the sphere, though. That had to have been an experience.
They did. Somewhere between the 45-degree weather outside, the 19-degree inside, the airplane, the sphere with thousands of people. I don't know how many were in there. I know that it seats 10,000, but they don't fill all the seats because of the direction of the show and everything. I picked up a bad cold, so I'm working on day 7 of that. But yeah, no, it was a good experience. We're glad we did it. And now we're preparing to head east next Saturday to do our next adventure, off to France and Newfoundland.
Oh, wow.
We are off
Well,
to
that's
France.
exciting.
Yeah, we're going to Saint-Pierre-Miquelon and Newfoundland, as well as New Brunswick, to visit our San Carlos friends, Chuck and Roberta. So.
Well, cool. Well, we have just enjoyed all this banter so much so we've gotten to no topics, which is fine because that's what we're here for as well. But I do have a couple of things that I'd like us to talk about, just because some of it's past ideas and some of it is from specifically last week. One of the things, and my friend Theo turned me on to this, was this law that Utah has passed about strong digital identity. The idea of this law is state-authorized IDs, and they are setting the precedence for how an ID system can be accepted by the state. So this is a very different approach to the way that people or businesses or governments are suggesting a digital ID. This is not so concerned about the mechanics of it as the philosophy behind it. And this is a individual rights first approach to state ID. Now, this article that I'm going to leave you with is huge, and it goes into all kinds of detail about the history and what this might look like and what the mechanics of it might look like. But one of the key components in it is this idea of a duty of loyalty. And this is a very, very similar, very in line with the Bill of Digital Rights. This is the idea that any IDing system has a responsibility to the privacy of the individual. And so they can't even begin to work out an ID system unless it starts from these ground principles. I found this article to be a lot of meat, and I've read it twice. I've listened to it on audio. I still feel like I haven't gotten everything I can from it. But a very, very quick synopsis of what's going on I found in another article that is actually being hosted by like a secure ID company. They've written up a synopsis of what this Utah law will be, and they've broken the core principles down here. Privacy by design, very much what I was saying. The idea that your digital persona, it's yours and must be kept private and secure from the beginning. What is it? Oh, unlinkability is this concept for digital ID where there is no centralized authority that is collecting every time your ID is collected. The idea is that if you got on a train or a plane or went into an environment where they're asking for you to verify your age, those aren't ticks on a timeline being collected by a state entity. That there isn't this, there isn't an association of movements with needing to show ID. So this unlinkability. Minimal disclosure is the idea that any digital ID is only responsible for disclosing that information needed in that moment. So, for example, if you were to be going into a bar and need to prove you're 21, all the digital ID has to do show you're 21. It does not need to show if you're an organ donor, what your home address is, any of that nature. Whether that's a good example or not, that is the idea. The idea is the disclosure of information is only that which is needed in that moment. Nothing extra is being tracked or being. And individual control, the idea that you are your identification. Anything that's used for personal identification is something that you have control over. And so I find this article a much easier one to follow what this law is getting in about. There are some very specific things this law prohibits, which are things that maybe I didn't think about for the Bill of Digital Rights. I think it falls into those areas, but there's things that and specifically for digital ID that I had not considered. The idea that an ID could be turned off. Have any of you thought of this idea that we move to a society where you are identified through a digital device and then you have a central authority that could say, no, they're a threat to society. All of a sudden you can't ID you. And so this law...
That's idiocracy.
Yeah, very much idiocracy. So this law explicitly protects people from that kind of behavior.
I haven't read this, but do you believe that unlinkability is technically possible? With pattern matching?
Richard, there is so much in this topic. I've got a feeling we're going to come back to this over and over again. But the principle here that I started with is they are not attempting the mechanics of it. They are attempting the protections. And they're...
I understand, but as they say, the devil is in the details.
They're putting the onus on the people that would create the ID. That's the important thing here. And that's what I like about the Bill of Digital Rights, is these are the things that are protected. Now you go off and figure out a way to do what you want to do without violating those protections.
Sounds like a nice statement of principles, but you know, if I develop a form of transportation that relies on anti-gravity,
I'm really ready for this analogy.
Me too.
that's the analogy.
Come on,
So I've created a principle that is unachievable on a technical level.
well, yeah, but don't you have to execute it? Like how would that? What we're talking about? Say you did that, and you start making flying devices. Well, then you would be subject to flying devices regulations, and that's what this is talking about.
Hmm.
At the very least, as a law, it outlines who the good guys and the bad guys are. If they are able to take the digital ID in whatever form that it has been developed, I mean, say it is developed. I get where you're going with this. It could be virtually impossible to do this. Technically, it could be. I don't know. But maybe let's say it is. Let's say it's just impossible to do this technically. But those that are developing it get so close that we don't recognize the threat. We don't recognize that it can be exploited. And in the future, it does get exploited. The exploiters are the bad guys because we have a law saying that you aren't supposed to be able to do that, at the very least.
And what good is that?
Well, you know who you're going after, just like the violations of the Bill of Digital Rights. I'm not making punishments or mechanics. I'm saying the society has to decide how you go after those people that violate your rights. What we've done is we've firmly established what we consider as rights, and we are protecting them. Now it's up to our lawmakers and constituents to decide what kind of, when those are in violation. And we're looking at the legal system to figure out what kind of punishments for people that violate those.
And I guess I see it as very much like the myth of anonymized databases.
Well, yeah, the execution. But, you know, tech people felt that way when they passed a law that everybody had to be able to keep their phone number. This is one of my favorite examples of consumer protections. Because it was impossible. I mean, I remember being right there in that atmosphere, and it's like, they can pass whatever law they want. That's impossible. But they gave a grace period. They made it mandatory. Any new equipment coming onto the network had to be able to fall within those constraints. As we increased the infrastructure, every new device that came on had the ability to switch numbers. And eventually we moved to an environment where you can take your phone number wherever you want. And it had nothing to do with the technology at the time. It had to do with the force of the community setting the standards. So I suspect that we're looking at a very similar kind of thing where we say by law, these are the protections that you should be enabling. If you can't do that, you're going to be liable for it. If you can't demonstrate it, we're not gonna be using your products, or at least the government won't be. Now, there are some things here that I appreciate. Things like they explicitly prohibit the seizure of a device when you're showing digital credentials. So like a police officer or somebody, they're basically protecting your phone from being taken from you in that act. There is no rights to see anything except you see where I'm going with this, Richard? It's like, yeah, if your phone was unlocked, a police officer could be flipping through your photos and looking at your calendar. This is explicitly saying, no, they can't do that. All they can see is the digital ID. They're the bad guy if they. And
So,
what's that?
So
they can be brought up on charges. They can be whatever the punishment is for being a bad guy can be enforced. That's the point. Also, they explicitly guarantee the rights to physical credentials. So maybe like yourself, you decide to opt out of digital ID, that you will always be able to use a plastic ID. This is something that we've talked about before with the toll booths that on the road. They keep saying they're going to make them so that you have to use digital payments. Nobody in Mexico believes that's going to be the case. With this kind of law, they wouldn't be able to say that. They would have to be able to accept the physical ID. Yes, Cheryl.
Our province has just made it mandatory that our driver's license, picture ID, is now going to have proof of Canadian citizenship and our Alberta healthcare numbers. They're putting it out as a convenience. You can use it for your voting. You can use it at your healthcare. You can use it. You don't have to have different pieces of ID. Running into all kinds of problems, and have just found out that it has an expiry date on it. So if there is an expiry date on your driver's license, you just get it renewed. You have such and such a time. But if it's on your Alberta healthcare card, you might be denied services. You might be, anyways. It's really getting into all kinds of issues in that regard. They're very concerned about the privacy and things. The people that have now their driver's license are up for renewal, and they need to bring in their Alberta healthcare card, which is just a piece of cardboard in our province. And if the name and a birth certificate, as well as your driver's license, women are finding that they go in with their Alberta healthcare cards, their driver's license, and their birth certificate, and there's two different names because they were born or using a different last name than what they are using on the driver's license. So they are having to prove that they actually were married and how they got to become using this name. And that means applying for or finding in your own thing. These people, some of them have been through floods. Some of them have had, things lost over the years. And it's just a huge waste of time. We have a trucker friend whose license needs to be renewed. She has to go through all these other steps. It's going to take 6 to 8 weeks to get the forms that she needs, and she can't drive until she gets something.
Hey, Cheryl, I don't mean to change the topic, but really, digital ID was not really the thing that I was getting at with this, even though it's a great topic.
Yeah.
What this law is it is their own Bill of Digital Rights. It's being brought into Utah because they want to protect people's information in a digital ID. But they have outlined all these protections because they're coming at it from the point of view, you need to protect the individual digitally. And so, and to Richard's point, is that even possible? There will be people on their committees determining vendors for doing things like digital ID, asking those questions. These vendors are not going to qualify unless they can meet these standards. And so what you might be looking at is a law that is perpetually pushing back digital ID until it's gotten to that idealistic, it can meet these requirements. This could be applied broadly to any digital interaction. What is missing from this law is any of this applicable to the private sector. What this doesn't do is things like a nightclub can insist on only digital ID. So the government can't only insist on digital ID. You can show up at a federal building or a state building and you can show them a plastic ID and that will be good enough. But an airlines could choose to only accept digital ID. This law does not prevent that. It doesn't prevent a nightclub from saying you can only come through, you can only verify you're 21 if you've got your phone with you as a digital
Or the
ID.
state partners with private industry like it does with flock cameras.
I'm sorry, Richard, say that again. I missed it.
Or the state partners with private industry like flock cameras are, I mean,
No,
I'm not saying that the intent isn't good.
well,
But again, I think it would be terrific to have anti-gravity transportation systems.
they've passed
That's a nice
this
intent.
law. What do you want to bet that they can use this to go after a flock camera that exists right now, saying we can't continue this contract because it violates this law?
Yeah. And 20 years down the road, when it reaches the Supreme Court and you may or may not get a ruling if they're willing to accept the case and so on and so forth.
Well, I don't believe that flock is being forced down our throats. They have taken advantage of us not understanding what's going on. This is an example of people showing understanding and insisting that they have the protections needed for the future. That's why I like it. That's why it feels like the Bill of Digital Rights. And it's a law now, which is amazing.
Interesting.
I agree with Richard in the aspect of technology will do what technology can do. I've always felt that way. It's a antivirus, hacking. I mean, it's always an arms race. They get better over here. They get better over here. Over here, they get better over here. It doesn't matter what laws you put down. You can say it's against the law, but somebody out there, if it's technically possible to do, they're going to do it. I do think, though, that as our community, we get to decide what our standards are, and that's what allows us to identify who the good guys are and the bad guys, and we can take actions against bad. One of the most frustrating things,
and I guess, and I'll have to read the articles. Thank you. Those are very, I'll read those. But I think it's very much like the push to move to biometrics versus passwords. You're talking about something that's immutable. When I have a digital ID, I don't see that any as fundamentally different from being the UPC code in idiocracy.
yeah,
You've been branded.
Yeah, well, I mean, I believe that is the intention, but verification you are who you say you are. Being able to express your age without being tracked. Because that's the thing that's happening right now. All these age verification systems that are in place are rickety. They can be compromised, but in the end, they're just being used for tracking identification. And that's what we're trying to stay away from.
I get off of an airplane and walk up to customs, smile into a camera, and I'm gone. I don't even see anybody. All they do is look at my face. Now you're going to tell me that I need something beyond that?
No, I don't think so. I think what you just told us is you already have digital ID.
Oh, yes.
I think that this was what happened to us at Las Vegas as well. We went into the airport terminal lined up for security, we handed our passport to the man, and he said, "Look into the camera." We had our picture taken there. I never had to show that I had a boarding pass. And I was going into the part where you're supposed to be leaving the country, and and then when we got to our gate to get on the plane, we stepped up, didn't have to have our ID or anything out. We looked at the camera, and if it registered properly, I guess, the gate opened, a little turnstile opened, and we walked on the plane. We were traveling with our daughter, and she didn't want me taking a picture of our granddaughter's ID. She didn't want us to have any digital record of her passport and things. And she was basically forced to do this. And I know she was very uncomfortable with the whole experience. And I don't know if I was supposed to be feeling uncomfortable or not, but basically it was the way we got on the plane.
Well, yeah, I mean, they have you in a box there.
Well,
Well,
they
I'm
say
going to say, no, I'm not going to.
You could walk back to Canada, I suppose.
Well, then when we got into Canada, we have these customs. Now we're in the United States Customs lineup, and they have these kiosks, and I had already put it all in my phone and everything, so they just had to verify was who I was. Well, and they printed off the thing, and there's my granddaughter, and there's Bill, and my picture is an X. And the only reason it's an X is one, I'm too short, and two, I had my glasses on, and you were supposed to take your glasses off. So they tried 3 times to get my picture, and then I took my glasses off, but I still was too short, and they couldn't verify who I was. So I entered Canada as an X. So.
Well, I guess the silver lining is X's are allowed to Canada. You got in.
Well, the guy looked at my face, and he didn't ask me to bring out my passport and prove it, but it was fine. There were people checking as we went along, human beings. But
did they in Nevada? Did they personally thank you for being a Canadian willing to spend the money in the United States right now?
The showgirls on the strip said, "Wow, it's great to see you." When they noticed our accent, "Where are you from?" Yeah.
We haven't seen many of you people this year.
The strip was pretty empty. Yeah.
We are at an hour and a half. I've got one other thing that I wanted to bring back from last week, and then I think we're probably calling this meeting to an end. I will save everything for next week if you guys are interested in the topics I've listed. But last week we had talked a bit about what to use for ripping CDs, DVDs, and Blu-rays, and I did a little bit of research on what's the most common way to do this stuff now. And I put links to the applications that are recommended. For Windows, Macintosh, and Linux, DVDs and Blu-rays, this Make MKV and Handbrake are 2 that I have used forever, and they are just still the ones that are recommended as open source free solutions for doing this. Make MKV as a standalone application will allow you to take a disk and turn it into digital files. Now, because it's an open source project, it's not very clear where to get the application, though the application's very easy to use. And so this is a discussion group from Make MKV, where somebody has taken the time to write out different sources for version of Make MKV. I want you to accept this as being a secure way to get access to this software. After it's installed, it's very straightforward. You stick a disk in, it shows you the videos that you can pull from it. You're able to select them and store them to a file on your computer. This is free. There are more convenient programs to pay for. I did not research anything but free open source versions because I don't like paying for software. But I've used this. It's very easy to use. Handbrake is a slightly different kind of program. It does have the ability to pull videos, but it doesn't have the ability to pull videos that are secured like DVDs. What it is useful for is re-encoding. Handbrake, I said DVDs, I meant digital videos. So a Handbrake is one, like say you get done with Make MKV, the file you have off of your disk could be anywhere from 4 to 90 gigabytes in size. That's very inconvenient to you. And so Handbrake would allow you to take that file and reduce it down to a smaller size, depending on where you want to use this video. If you wanted to have it on your phone, it can be a smaller file size than if you were going to reproduce it on your TV. And so I used to use Handbrake all the time to make little videos for my kids when I had a little Nokia with a 2.5-inch screen. I'd Pingu videos on it for them to watch. This is the software I used. It's completely free. It's kept up to date all the time. It's a great piece of software. And recently, it has pre-configured settings in it. Like, you can choose to watch on a specific kind of, like an iPhone 11, like on a high-quality 1080p display, things of that nature. They've got those, so you don't have to sort out all the individual settings. You choose a profile is the word I'm looking for. They've included a list of profiles so that it's much easier to convert these files from their original to whatever it is you're trying to put them on. Those two pieces of software are very helpful when ripping DVDs and Blu-rays. What I found for CDs, what's being recommended out there, which is ironic, is Apple Music or iTunes. Apple Music on the Macintosh, iTunes on Windows. Both of them will allow you to take any CD and rip it into audio tracks. These are very stable, proven programs that have been around forever, and they're free. They're not open source, but they're free. And so it is the easiest recommendation for folks. You install iTunes in your Windows computer, or you run music from your Macintosh computer, you stick in a disk, and you're able to convert them files. There are...
Oh,
What's that?
sorry, I'm making some notes here, but that's for converting to MP3.
Yeah, this whole topic is about ripping discs.
Yeah, ripping. Okay.
Yeah, from last week, I can't remember. Somebody had asked what was recommended for the way to do it now. And I suspect this topic, as these streaming services continue to nickel and dime their customers, this topic will become more and more relevant. I can imagine us being the kinds of people now that might go to a pawn shop and buy discs, and you want to have them in your library. This is the way you would do it.
Yeah, that's one part. A topic for next week. I don't know what happened, but in the last couple of updates, our camera, our shared library, I'm not seeing pictures that I know I took and that nobody deleted. I can't find them in my library. It's all messed up, and I don't know. We try to set it so that when Bill takes a picture on his, we're sharing the same iCloud. It's a family iCloud. It's really frustrating. I was at a
Carol, I don't know if it's related, but what I've noticed through the last couple of updates is any of the things that are supposed to synchronize quickly don't. Like, I'll take a picture and I'll wait an extended amount of time for even a reference to show up on my computer, because I have a Macintosh.
Yeah.
In Macintosh Photos, that picture needs to appear, but before 26, I could take a picture and within moments I could find it on my desktop. And now since 26, I feel like I take a picture and I wait and I wait and I wonder if it worked. And I go into the photo program. Sometimes I don't even see it in the photo program on my iPhone for an extended period of time. Maybe I can see it in the camera app. I can go back and I can see that I took it. But then I go into Photos at Apple Photos, and it hasn't appeared there for me to do anything with.
And it might be because you're looking at an album or you're looking at a live, there's so many different things now, and it doesn't automatically go to your camera roll. The other issue is that I know that I took 25 pictures at this party I was at. I go back to the date of the party and I see 6. And I know that there were more that aren't there anymore.
Oh, well, I hope you haven't lost photos. I haven't felt like I've lost anything, but I've been lost. I've been lost looking for stuff.
Yeah, it seems like there's more options and they're filing them differently or something. And if I do the search and I search for the specific day, again, they're not showing up. I've tried searching different ways.
This is another thing that I've noticed with the most recent updates, both on the phone and on the computer. I have had moments where I've searched for something that I absolutely know exactly where it is and it can't find it. And I'll go to it to prove that I know where it is and it can't find it.
For example, files, when I go to my file and I go to open it, it opens up in a thing called preview now. And I'll notice when I go to shut down my windows and everything, what's this preview? And in there is all the things that I thought I had opened in the files when I was browsing in the files. And
you found like a folder called previews, and in there are links to things?
It's not a folder. It's something that they added, like it's under settings. It's an app, I guess.
Well, on the Macintosh computer, there is an app called Preview, and it's a generic file opener. It opens pictures and PDFs and text documents.
Yeah, it was loaded onto my phone about 2 updates ago, I guess. Okay. I had never seen it on the phone, or I haven't found it yet on the iPad, but it's called Preview, and it's in there. It's an app. And when I open something in file...
Oh, yeah, I've got it too. I haven't used it, but I've got it.
When I open a file, it appears in this preview.
So this is the exact behavior of the preview. Preview is the catch-all on a Macintosh computer. If you don't have a photo program to open a photo, it'll open in preview. If you don't have a PDF reader, it's actually the default PDF reader. But the idea is preview is allowing you to look at all different kinds of content. But just a preview. You don't edit there. You don't make changes there. You just look at the contents. You can print from there. And on the Macintosh computer, it'd be interesting to see if the same thing's on the iPhone or the iPad. You're the first person that's made me really pay attention that this is on the device. If I'd seen it before, my mind just went past it. But on the Macintosh computer in Preview, you can put passwords on PDFs. It'll be interesting to see if you can do something like that on your iPad. You can take a PDF and you can secure it with a password. Something you're able to do under Mac OS. Hey, just going back very quickly to ripping for Richard's benefit. Are you familiar with Asunder? Asunder is the free and open source software for ripping CDs, music to files. I did not find a good developers page for it, so I put the Wikipedia page here, but apparently it's in all the libraries. You just have to go to your repository and you can find it.
I'm not familiar with that with that one, but does Audacity?
Audacity, actually, I'm glad you asked because I was skipping over it. Audacity is an audio recording program and so much more. It's a framework for doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a full editing thing.
Yeah.
But
And
I'm
so if you
wondering-
install the lame FFmpeg encoder, then you can use Audacity to convert over. And there is,
it's a pretty damn complicated interface.
yeah, that's kind of the reason I didn't get into it. The reason I started pursuing it a little bit, I used Audacity forever for audio recording when we were just doing audio and before we did YouTube. I used Audacity as how we did the podcast for the Computer Club. I love Audacity. It's one of my favorite programs, but it is cryptic. And so if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know where to start. And it can be used for a variety of different things. Like Richard was suggesting, you can bring in a file off of a CD and you can rip it to an MP3, but it has dependents that need to be installed for that function to work correctly. And it is not straightforward. And so that's why it's not in my list. The whole procedure of doing it is not straightforward.
Yeah.
There is another.
That's full-blown, full-featured audio editing, any goddamn thing you want to do.
Yeah, I love
Sweet.
Audacity because you can layer tracks. Like there was a period of time when I was putting music on top of the audio that we were recording and slicing up audio and bringing it together into a tight audio podcast, which had as much viewership as this does. So why was I working so hard to just, nobody cared. I gained a lot of skills. That's how I looked at it. It's like, well, somebody sometime might pay me to be able to do this. So now I know how to do it. It was actually what brought me down that path with this topic recently was that I kept getting recommended exact copy audio, ECA, or Windows. I had never heard of it. It's reliant on, it's open source, free, for ripping audio tracks from a CD with a very easy use interface. I'm like, okay, that sounds interesting. However, you have to get lame installed. And if you can't get lame installed, it's not a good recommendation. And installing lame is very cryptic. It's so cryptic that Audacity has its own page for how to get lame installed. And so if any of us was to pursue this application, exact copy audio for Windows, then I would refer you to Audacity's page on how to install lame, because it's such a cryptic process to get it installed. And this is just the fallacy of open source, is you're expected to do some of the heavy lifting yourself. That's
well, and I'd be interested because now I haven't used it for this application because I've used it for real audio editing. But I think I've never had to install a dependency out of the Linux repositories.
No.
Audacity.
No. It's already attached to it. Yeah, it's all there.
Well, another example of the superiority of Linux.
Quick question for you.
Yeah, Fred.
If you remember back in DOS days, there was a command, discopy, where it would copy sector to sector, so you would get an exact mirror image of whatever.
Absolutely. It actually still exists in a more rudimentary form than before. You had a lot more options. But discopy does still exist. If you're looking for a general purpose, sector by sector, free copier, Clonezilla is the one that you would.
Clonezilla.
Clonezilla, you can download a USB bootable Clonezilla that would allow you to sector by sector copy a hard drive to another hard drive. Very, very easy stuff if you're going from a small hard drive to a large hard drive. much more complicated if you're trying to take data off of a large hard drive to a smaller hard drive. You'd almost, if you were trying to, it's frustrating. Say you have a terabyte hard drive and you're only using 100 gigabytes. So why don't I just stick it on, make a direct copy over to a 250 gigabyte hard drive? That it's painful because sector by sector, it wants to see every blank sector. So it's hard to get an identical copy because it wants to bring every sector over to the target, but the target's not big enough to do that. So it doesn't work. You have to shrink your source before you bring it over to the target. And that, I don't think anybody's interested. You guys end up doing, yeah? If you're interested in this topic, this is some real IT voodoo. Because what you would do is you create an image of that original hard drive in software. You'd make a file image of it, and then you can change the size of it. You can shrink that partition, and then
wouldn't you just be able to defrag or?
It's not that way. The that's
No,
at a
no.
that's at a different layer.
Okay.
We're actually working, when you're working sector by sector, you're working at this hardware layer. And the defragmenting, that's actually at a more software layer. Sector by sector takes in, whether you defragmented it or not, it takes into effect every sector in that hardware. So it accounts for the blank sector as well as the full.
So going from a larger one to a smaller one doesn't work.
When you're doing sectors by sector like Fred is proposing, you can easily do it from smaller to bigger because you've got the space for each sector, even the empty one. I mean, it's literally an issue of the containers, or the container's too small for what you're trying to train. So you have to put an extra step in the middle of it.
Yeah,
we used
pouring
to
too
sit,
much milk.
used to sit there and copy CDs with software on them, and you could sit there and they put a key on the CDs. It would copy the key over also.
Right.
If you didn't know the key, you could sit there and, as I remember, it was one of the first sectors on the CD that had the key in it, and you could access that and go from there. Worked well.
I don't know if you remember, but Sony for a while there had an auditorial key for their it was their copyrights protection on Sony released discs. They actually they had an audio key, so it would actually like translate into music that would be like an audio signal that would be used as the key of the disc. But what I'm really thinking of is when they installed a rootkit on people's computers, because that's the way that they would prevent their disk from being copied. They would install something that compromised your. Got in a lot of trouble for it, but it was in the first sector of the CD. Hey, I did also want to mention an experience I had recently. My Macintosh, I'm going to talk about me. My Macintosh has gone through a number of iterations throughout its life. I bought my Mac Mini originally in 2012 and ran that until it died in 2021. And then I bought a Mac Mini M1 and moved the entire system over to it. So when you work in Macintosh worlds, you can transfer the system in its entirety from one device to the other. That's every catalog, every index, every setting. And this was a very impressive thing to be able to do because I was moving into a newer operating system that was running on a newer chipset. So the fact that I was able to bring so many things just in line was awesome. But what was also brought with it was applications that fundamentally would not run on it because they were not written for that chipset, and the Rosetta wasn't working for it, a small selection of it. And I was also brought over just generations of garbage that I had never bothered to clean up. And I've been on, since I was in Mexico, this mission to organize and my data retention, because as you've probably heard me state before, I'm a data hoarder. I will buy double this capacity and upgrade before I will organize and throw away. That's the way I roll. And so I've been, since storage has gotten so expensive, this has turned in my project. What I wanted to share with you was that on the Macintosh, none of this garbage affects anything. It sits just off to the sides. It's just piles of cruff. Not necessary, but taking up space. Not causing a problem with the computer, but just out there, orphaned, unidentified. And so you would normally use like a CCleaner, something of that nature, to clean that kind of stuff up. I found people recommending an open source version of a CCleaner that people have really appreciated. In fact, I can tell you the name of it. I don't know why I didn't write it down. It's a Pear Cleaner. That's what it is. I think it is called Pear Cleaner because CCleaner is owned by a company called Pear. These people made an open source version, Pear Cleaner. Now I'm not sure yet whether I'm recommending it, only because the install was a little convoluted to get it going. But after getting it going, it was very easy to use. My topic for right now isn't really Pear Cleaner. My topic is how I used it to decide what things needed to stay and what didn't. In Pear Cleaner, you end up with, and again, I don't think this is I think this is applicable to anything you're using. Pear Cleaner is not the thing that I'm telling you about. But in this particular cleanup app, it had different categories, one for plugins, one for extensions, one for catalogs and things of that nature. Maybe you don't even know what this stuff is. And what I was able to do was I was able to screenshot lists of plugins that were being put in front of me as orphan. As a Pear Cleaner saying, hey, these things you probably don't want, but then leaving the onus to me of whether I really did want them or not. I didn't know. So I took screenshots and I pasted them into Google Gemini and said, hey, do I want these? And it gave me a summary of what all those things were and why I would want them or why I wouldn't. And a large portion of them, because of the amount of cruff I had on my system, were, oh, yeah, you can delete all of those. That was a plugin from an application that no longer exists. It was discontinued in 2018. It just did a synopsis of every single thing I presented it with, and then I was able to make a better educated guess of whether I should remove it from the system. Consequently, using that methodology, I was able to recover up to 50 gigabytes of space that were just being used by garbage on my computer. I had a couple of other techniques that I had. In fact, I wish I had kind of started with this because I had a couple of other techniques that I had used previous to that had just instantaneously recovered hundreds of gigabytes of space. But a lot of that was just me being able to identify specifically what was doing. I was looking at it. I'm like, oh, I don't need that. I've got that over here. Being able to toss it. It was really just towards the end of my cleanup where I'm like, okay, now I've got a bunch of this stuff and I really can't tell whether I need it or not, whether I want it or not. And Gemini was able to help me immensely in just determining whether I should do the remove button. And I have to say, it saved me on a couple of things that I literally had no idea about. If there hadn't been a Gemini, I would have been putting those names into a Google search. I would be looking at discussion groups that include that particular terminology. I'd be going to websites that are the producers of whatever that software was, and reading up and trying to educate myself on whether I needed that particular plugin. Google was, or Gemini was able to say, you need this plugin if you're doing this, this, and this. And I'm like, oh yeah, I am doing this, this, and this. No, I don't want to remove that. Anyway, an AI workflow to help me clean up my computer. I have to say, guys, I would do this on your computer. If you brought me your computer, I would do this on your computer to help me understand whether it needed to be cleaned up or not. Whereas before, I would go to each one of those items. I'd have to go do the research that I'm explaining to you now. Now I can put that list into an AI and it'll just pop off what each one of those things are for me to be able to make the decision. I found that fascinating, very useful.
What would you pay for it?
In that respect, I don't know. I don't know. It's the fact that I'm able to do it without paying for it means that I might start doing it more often. And if I started doing, if it was
understand.
right, yeah, no, I think it's worth a monthly fee. If there was an IT tool out there,
you're a professional.
right? If there's an IT tool out there that I needed to pay for, I probably would. That particular, I mean, probably be a Swiss Army knife of IT stuff.
As an IT professional, I'm very curious, Scott. This is not badgering you. As an IT professional, let's say you had to pay for that functionality. Would you pay $10 a month, $120 a year to have that in your toolkit?
Well, I would pay $120 a year for a toolkit that included a tool like that.
Okay.
I would.
Okay.
I'd much rather buy a tool outright, but that's just not the way these things are working.
No.
Yeah, but that brought, what that did immediately was eliminate hours of work. It turned hours of work into minutes of work.
I understand.
Right? So if I had a flat rate,
a lot of work.
yeah, I'm often feeling like I do 2 hours of work for every 1 hour I get paid. And so if I could immediately turn 2 hours of work into 20 minutes, I could give my customer a better price and they would be more likely to use me.
For an hour.
Well, it depends on how you do business, but essentially it would pay for itself. Cheryl, you're holding up your hand. Are we running out of time? I'm not paying attention.
Yeah, there's 2 minutes left. You're going to be cut off. But
all right, we need to say goodbye. No time for recommendations. This is the the longest meeting we've ever had. And we didn't even get to one news article. I am so happy that we enjoy hearing ourselves talk so much.
And a lot of it was tech related. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely. Who would know? So much original thought in one meeting.
Take care, everybody.
Until next time, you guys, tech on.
Have a good week.
You too, Fred. Adios, everybody. Until next time. Adios, Mom. Whoop, she got her microphone on just as I hung up on her. I'm so... Anyway, we'd done it again, and we'll do it again next week, which should be the 25th. We will meet here again for another virtual in-person, or not in-person, a virtual meeting. We won't be doing in-person meetings until I've returned, and that first meeting will be the first Tuesday in October. And so check back with us regularly, find out what our future. Right now, it's 25th. Till then, everyone out there, tech on.